Joining me now, New Democrat Network Senior Advisor Alicia Menendez and the National Review's Robert Costa. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Chris.
So, Alicia, in 2008, you know this, 66% of young voters supported Obama. A recent Gallup poll puts his approval rating, as we said, below 50%. So, can a campaign like this jog those numbers up? What's it going to take?
It can and it has to. I mean, I think one of the important things to understand here, Chris, is when we talk about young voters, it's very easy to imagine it like the kids' table when it's the largest, most diverse generation in American history.
And
so
most
what's up for grabs
unpredictable,
here?
I would argue. Because for years and years and years, it's been very difficult, even with millions of dollars spent, to get them to vote in large numbers.
Not when you make a big investment. I think part of what we've seen is that there's a definite corollary between having a very specific message, going door to door, just doing the basic blocking and tackling. When you invest in young voters, they show up. The question is whether or not you're investing in them and whether or not you have a message that resonates with them. I think right now the Obama administration focusing on student loans, focusing on veterans, many of whom are millennials returning from Afghanistan and Iraq, I think they're offering a message that's going to resonate.
Yeah, those are issues that are very important to that generation, Robert, but you look skeptical.
Oh, I'm very skeptical. First of all, if it was 10 years ago and we were talking about political organizing online, that would be interesting. But we're in 2011, everyone's using Facebook and Twitter. And the key question for this cycle, Chris, is it going to be the medium or the message that's important? Alicia, she was talking about student loans and veterans, all important issues. But the key issue for my generation is the economy. And they may not be so supportive of Republicans, but at the end of the day, they're disappointed with President Obama. So the problem for Barack Obama and the use of this website is he has to get this disappointed generation out to the polls. But I'm skeptical that a little Facebook and Twitter is going to do that with the unemployment level so high, especially with young people.
Yeah, there is new census data, Alicia. I think it shows that the young folks have the highest unemployment rate they've had since World War II. So, I mean, in many ways, it's the same problem he's countering in much of the country. But how does he answer that?
Well, I think this message about we can't wait actually counters it perfectly, which is the president's going to do everything that he can do with his executive authority. But beyond that, he needs Congress to act. We're going to break this jobs bill down piece by piece and really ask Congress if it's more to do what's right for the American people, if it's right to do what's right by this generation, or if they're going to allow the same type of partisan gridlock that has characterized the last 3 years to continue.
Well, and you also have to look at the other side of the message. Essentially what's going on here, Robert, when you look at a lot of the issues. First of all, let's talk about the economy. 999 has been largely debunked. There's some pretty harsh criticism already of what we've seen from Rick Perry's plan. I mean, you're shaking your head, but it's not like it's a slam dunk for the Republicans either.
I didn't say that, Chris. I think Republicans have a real challenge still to reach out to young people. The last time Republicans won the youth vote was in 1988 with George H.W. Bush, and it hasn't happened since. They have an uphill climb because they're still seen as the stiff party. They're not really addressing key issues that matter. But I think this election is going to be more of a referendum on the president. And as savvy as he was in 2008 and will be in 2012, if the jobs aren't there, I think my generation is going to stay home. And I think President Obama, as Alicia was talking about, he is getting some people excited. But I think he's getting his other base excited, public employees, Democratic activists, people who really follow what's happening in Congress. People my age, they're not really watching C-SPAN and following it. They care about their paycheck, and if they're on Facebook, they're not really even on Facebook anymore. Where are they online? They're looking for jobs on Craigslist and other job sites. That's the online part that really is part of their lives now. And as much as President Obama did, he's the best. And Republicans, you're right. They're not doing so much to reach out to young people yet. But look at this.
In addition to not reaching out, they're lowering the bar. I mean, their war on voting, where now you're going to need a federal ID in order to be able to
vote
in 12 states. It means that if you're a young person, 10% of young people don't have a federal ID. There are now 12 states where you're going to show up and it's going to be nearly impossible for you to vote. You say that you care about young people voting, then you need to make it easier for them to vote, not harder.
I think access is important, Alicia, but I think these are all distractions. The thrust of this campaign, I think you would agree, is the economy. And bickering about Washington or what Republicans aren't doing is missing the key issues.
I don't think it's bickering to say that you have one party that wants more people to vote and you have another party that's actively telling people
We've got to let that be the last word, but what a provocative conversation. Alicia, Bob, thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
Well, the Republicans have launched a hashtag war of sorts on Twitter using the president's new